So when I met with Heidi Toy, I went in for digestive problems and I knew something was wrong. I ended up in the ER. I couldn't take the pain anymore. So I was in the hospital and my general practitioner is amazing. She was like, hey, you should really look into maybe functional medicine. So I kept scrolling through Google and second one up was Heidi Toy. I'm like, yep, calling this one. So I'm calling, Heidi picked up. I think she could tell by the pain or my emotions in my voice that I wasn't just calling her to have a conversation. I meant business and I was in pain. I was really struggling and she was awesome. She said, I can't do a lot over the phone. However, I think if you do that when you get home, eat that and I'll meet with you as soon as I can next weekend. So I said, I will do whatever at this point. I went home and I cooked up some fried up some burger and I ate some cooked carrots and I literally sat down and I cried to my husband. I'm like, I don't hurt. I can eat this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what she told you to do, but it's working. I'm like, I just ate food and I feel better. So I've talked with some friends and, it's hard to not be like, you have to go see her, but like they have to go see her. Like, let's be real. So I definitely would refer you to Heidi. I don't know what your problems could be, but I just challenge you. If something's reoccurring or something is getting worse slowly, just challenge it and go to Heidi Toy and say, I'm having these problems. What can you offer for me? Hi, I'm Lisa Kopp. I am 35 years old. I am a teacher, a public school district teacher in Medford, Wisconsin, and I enjoy being outside, being around my husband and 3 children. I have dogs, cats, chickens, horses, a goldfish, a few rabbits. Just really enjoy doing a lot of different hobbies and pursuits. My journey with Heidi began when I found myself in the ER. I was having some really hard health issues. I was dealing with some stomach problems for a while and it never really dawned on me until I ended up in the ER. I couldn't take the pain anymore. So I was in the hospital and I kind of didn't get the answers I hoped I would get. After going to a second hospital with all the blood work, all the tests, they gave me some labels to what maybe I did have, but it still wasn't enough, like what caused my stomach problems. So I was extreme nausea. I had the burning pain in my stomach constantly, no matter what I ate. I was throwing up. I mean, it wasn't staying inside of me. And it kind of got to be a mental game too. After you're in pain so long and know that there's no end, it kind of was getting to me. And I woke up in the middle of the night, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I was in the hospital, really, really frustrated mentally and physically. And my general practitioner is amazing. She was like, hey, you should really look into maybe functional medicine. I said, okay, like I'm willing to do anything right now. I don't have the cause of my problems and I'm not happy with the outcome here where I'm at in the hospital. So she gave me she gave me a name of a functional medicine doctor in Eau Claire, and I called that facility and they couldn't get me in for about 6 months. And I was like, that is ridiculous. That is not okay. So I kept scrolling through Google and second one up was Heidi Toy. I'm like, yep, calling this one. So I'm calling, Heidi picked up. I think she could tell by the pain or my emotions in my voice that I wasn't just calling her to have a conversation. I meant business and I was in pain. I was really struggling and she was awesome. She said, I can't do a lot over the phone. However, I think if you eat these specific things, she talked about eating kind of the meats and some cooked vegetables. If you do that when you get home, eat that and I'll meet with you as soon as I can next week. I think it was in like 3 days she could see me in person. So I said, I will do whatever at this point. So I left the hospital discharged, kind of upset still, not knowing where I was at with the medical system there. Went home and I cooked up some fried up some burger and I ate some cooked carrots. And I literally sat down and I cried to my husband. I'm like, I don't hurt. I can eat this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what she told you to do, but it's working. I'm like, I just ate food and I feel better. So Heidi really opened my eyes to the type of diet I was eating and how that impacted my intestines immediately. So I switched over, ate what she told me to, the same thing. It was so weird. She's like, yeah, eat that for breakfast. I was like, are you kidding me, Heidi? I have to eat that for breakfast too? So yeah, I ate it for breakfast. And within the 2-3 days I went to her, I like wanted to run up and hug her and be like, what did you do to me? Tell me more. When I first walked in and met with Heidi Toy, I was impressed by her professionalism. She was down to the point. She wasn't sugarcoating things, but she also was able to read me and my emotions. She knew that this was going to be a long journey, and she understood where I've been because she's helped others like me. So she talked to me about what diet I should eat, what foods were good to eat, what foods were bad to eat, stay within this column, giving me kind of guidelines. And I left there determined, right? I was feeling better from after the hospital visit. She told me what to eat. I was feeling better. So I went home, was all excited. I get home and then I see my husband and children and they're eating, let's say it was pizza that day. And I'm like, what? I have to eat this. I have to eat meat and vegetables, and they can eat the fun things. So I remember crying a few times, and my husband would come up and console me and say, you got this. Think of how much better you feel. And it was hard. Like it wasn't an easy change, because it was easier to make the unhealthy processed foods than to make the healthier, harder to make food. So it definitely wasn't like an overnight process where I was like, poof, I'm healed. It was something where I had to really focus on my emotions and say, I need to stick to this because my health is telling me to. And after time now, it's gotten easier, right? I started with the same foods on repeat for all of my meals for like 3 days. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of sick of ground burger and carrots. So then I threw in another vegetable. And as time went on, I finally figured out how to play within that diet and figure out, I can eat maybe 3 different things throughout the day versus having to eat the same thing. When I first started eating, I didn't really care what people thought. I had so much pain internally. They could have made fun of me and been like, keep going. I'm still doing what I'm doing, because I needed that no pain feeling, right? Like I needed that. After a while, then when I was healing, my family would be like, hey, let's go out to eat, or let's go do this, or let's go do that. And I knew it would surround me with bad choices, or they would challenge me like, well, why can't you just have one piece of pizza? And it was definitely an educational moment. They just thought that I was choosing not to eat something, where they don't realize the nutritional value of those foods it's lacking. It's actually harmful, and I would say almost toxic to your body. And they didn't understand that. They didn't have that education like I learned through Heidi. So when I'd go to family outings, I'd try and bring my own food, so I didn't make them feel like theirs wasn't good enough. But then by bringing my own food, I felt like I offended them. So it was hard. So we had to have some conversations, and I just wanted to share my reasons for why I was doing what I was doing, because then they could try and have empathy and understand from my shoes, my perspective, that this wasn't just a choice. Like my body needed this. So over time, now my husband and my children are eating how I've been eating. In the beginning, I would make one meal for me and they would just eat. So I prepare 2 meals, like my meal and their meal. And now over time, now they're eating what I'm eating. And let me tell you, my kids feel better. They don't have the stomach aches or the gas. And with my husband, they feel better in the long run because they're eating those healthier choices. But it definitely wasn't easy. When I'd go to friends' houses or they'd come over, they would like the food I prepared, or they would bring something else that I couldn't eat. So it was hard having those conversations. But if they're at a place in their life where they want to help themselves, or they respect you as a person, they will listen to you and try and be empathetic and put themselves in your shoes to understand why you're doing what you're doing. It was hard though. It still is hard. I'm not fully healed, but I don't know, 90% better than where it was months ago because of Heidi Toy. And for those of you who are considering trying to help yourself and heal yourself from the gut outward, I challenge you just to make small changes in your health and your diet, and over time, you'll be really happy with the results. So when I came to Heidi Toy and she did some suggestions on what tests we should run, I was really not sure of what I had. She told me to change my diet. It immediately healed some of the pain I had, but I still didn't have answers. So Heidi Toy suggested that we run a few different tests. So I had a lot of blood workup done from previously being in the hospital, so that was kind of to my advantage. Otherwise, she suggested that we run blood work to see numbers there. She then suggested we run a hair mineral test. So, sending in some of my hair sample, that was one thing. You're kind of like, what? I have to cut my hair? Are people gonna see bald spots? Is it gonna grow back? But you do it in a very discreet area, and you don't even notice it's gone. So I was really happy I did that. I also did a stool sample, a pretty in-depth workup for a stool sample. And also when we got those, so those were the workups. So hair mineral sample, a stool sample, and the blood work that I gave her. So that was a lot of really great information that was able to tell her a lot about my current conditions. I thought I was healthy. When I came to Heidi Toy, I'm very lean. Like I've never really struggled with weight issues in my life. Like my weight would fluctuate maybe 5-10 pounds. I've had 3 children. I didn't gain a lot of weight with them. I've been very blessed. I lost that baby weight right away. So when I came to Heidi, I really just thought I had some stomach problems. I just thought that's all my problems were. And she, oh my goodness, she opened my eyes. Like I had a lot going on wrong, or like stressful things in my system. And I think it's crazy because I looked at my body and I thought because I was lean, I was making healthy choices. I was healthy. And in reality, I was not. I had a great shell, I was holding it together, a full-time job, 3 children, a wife, I just had to keep going and push myself. And I think I didn't prioritize myself and I didn't listen to my body. And that's where I ended up having such a bad health issue, is because I kind of ignored some of the problems I had earlier. So the results, when we received them back, it showed that I had a lot more problems going on internally than just my stomach problems. That was obviously a big root of the cause of everything I had. So Heidi said that I more than likely had something called SIBO. So I was positive for having that. After learning from her what the symptoms are, what the causes are, all those different things she educated me on, I definitely had SIBO. So after I was kind of labeled with having that problem, we were able then to come up with a regimen to attack that and to balance my gut health with that. So the stool sample I did, it was definitely worth it. It was something, maybe you're skeptical on how much you can figure out from your stool, but it showed so much. I mean, the document that she had just from that stool sample was like 30 pages, 50 pages. It was ridiculously long. The data, she would tell me things about me that I didn't know she knew. One of them I remember being shocked about was about my personality, and how one of the results talked to her about how I was like a happy-go-lucky personality and kind of like a roller coaster with my emotions and my energy. And I was like, what? You don't even know me. You can tell that from that test. So going forward, having that label with the SIBO, we were able to then come up with a regimen to kill that. And it isn't a one pill overnight killing. It's a lifestyle with what you're eating on top of the regimen of supplements that she suggested. On top of that, I also had some problems with a yeast infection too in my digestive system, which I didn't know I really even had. I think it was minor enough. It was kind of on the back burner compared to some of the other problems I had. And so being aware of that, I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, those things do make sense. I do also have a yeast infection. So on top of having SIBO with the yeast infection, those were just some of the starting points where Heidi was able to make a regimen and then adjust what my body needed. So working with Heidi, she's really educated me on the value of the food that you put into your body. And even when it might be hard to make these choices, in the end, it's going to benefit you. So you should do it. So in the beginning, I was really emotional about it, because I'm supposed to eat on her paleo chart she gave me. I'm supposed to eat in the one green column, which is safe. And I was like, am I going to eat these same things for forever? But no, just let me reassure you, once you heal internally, you're able to open up your door to more of those whole foods. Still kind of sticking to that paleo type diet. It's not a fad. It's something that our bodies were made to consume. That's how we were wired, how we were set up. And so eating like that is what our body has been created to consume. So I did end up, graduating off of like the green section and moving over on her columns of her paleo chart and starting to add in some other foods. It's really educated me though on, I'm a big fruit eater. I love eating fruit, and obviously fruit has sugar, but I never really put the two and two together, that the amounts of fruit I was eating maybe were harming me more than helping me. So just learning the balance of, if I'm making that choice, I'm probably not eating fruit at a different meal that day, and trying to balance how much I eat. But yeah, it was hard in the beginning because you had to stick to kind of a restrictive diet. But after you figured out how to cook and what to buy and your lifestyle, it definitely got easier. And now I've graduated up to the other side of the chart where I can insert other foods and eat other foods, but still in those guidelines of like that paleo lifestyle or that whole foods lifestyle. A lot of not processed stuff. And to be honest, I wouldn't go back. It's something, I've maybe dabbled out and I've tried to eat some chocolate and it's like, oh my gut, it doesn't resonate with me. And I'm very in tune to my body now, where in the past I didn't know what was causing that pain. So now that I'm educated and I'm aware and I know what to put into my body, I definitely would not go back to eating how I ate before. But let me tell you, now that I've kind of awoken to this lifestyle, I'm like, wait, it's not just diet, right? Heidi talked with me about, even just stressors. I have a full-time job. I have 3 children. I have a farm at home. I have a farm at my school. Talking about, you need to have the meditation, the restful, the stagnant, the calm time in your life too. And I was like, what? Like, I don't have time to be calm. I got to keep going. So she told me, you need to find a time every day where you can be mindful or meditate and make sure your endocrine system or your body has the time to rest. So, the times I was sitting on the couch, I kind of felt guilty. And now it's like, no, Heidi told me I have to relax and rest and meditate. I usually wake up in the mornings and do a mindful thing before I go to bed at night. I talk with my children about, appreciation and gratitude and being mindful. As well as I'm learning there's Heidi taught me, and I'm also now learning there's more to just the diet, right? It's also exercise, making sure that you do burn off some of that stress in a healthy way. It's making sure you get outside and experience the sunlight, right? Expose yourself to that sunlight. Even talking about the chemicals I use. I'm kind of in that phase right now, and it'll be for forever, but I'm realizing that a lot of the things I'm using in my house are kind of toxic to myself as my family. You know, you read the labels and it's like, if it touches your skin, if you ingest it, and you're like, what, I'm using this? So now that I've learned that the diet is the paramount piece of it, I'm starting to get comfortable with that, and now reaching out, you know, slow changes over time. When I run out of one like harsh cleaner, now I'm replacing it with a toxic free or a non-toxic cleaner. So it definitely is a lifestyle, and I could have never been like, okay, turn that one off, turn that one on, and switch 100%. So I think that was overwhelming. You know, learning that the diet has to change was overwhelming enough. And now that I've had that figured out, I'm ready to take on some other pieces of that traditional lifestyle that we thought was okay, and substitute and change them to be a more holistic or healthier lifestyle for not only me, but my children, my husband, my pets. So it's definitely a process. And if you're interested in changing your process, I definitely suggest you reach out to Heidi. She has some great material, some great support to help you change at the rate that you feel you need to do. Shortly after I worked with Heidi to figure out my diagnoses and trying to figure out a regimen, I made it aware to her that I was going out of the country. It wasn't just a short weekend trip. I actually ended up being a student leader, a teacher, leading a group of students going down to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands. And let's think about that there. Once in a lifetime trip. I wasn't pausing that for my digestive problems and my health problems. So I had to figure it out, right? So I went into Heidi kind of, you know, stressed. I was afraid to tell her I maybe couldn't do the diet. I couldn't stick to her plan because I had to go somewhere. I had to leave and go out of country for a little bit. And Heidi was very supportive. She was like, Lisa, you will be fine there. And I, you know, absorbed what she was saying, and I couldn't quite grasp it because I've never been there. I didn't know, you know, what my rooms would look like. Could I cook my own food? What was available nearby? I was on still a pretty restrictive diet, just trying to eat meat, vegetables, and fat. And I was really concerned that I wouldn't be able to do the best for my body while I was on that trip. And then on top of that, having the stress of being the teacher on the trip, looking over these students and trying to facilitate tours. All in all, it went amazing. I was stressed out kind of for nothing. Ecuador and Galapagos Islands, I would love to live there just based off of their food. When we went out to dinner, their plates in lunch and dinner, their plates were just meat and vegetables. Basically, in those countries, they grow what they can consume. And if they can't grow it, they don't have the access a lot of times to ship those items in, or the resources or the cost to do that. Everything to get to the Galapagos Islands is brought over by plane or by boat, so they really try and cut down, you know, what's brought over. Now, don't get me wrong, they still had access to some of those fast food or those, you know, processed things, but it was expensive. The tour guide was telling us, like the gentleman who helped us on the trip was saying, yeah, McDonald's there, not a lot of people go there, and when they go out there, it's fancy, like that's a special treat to them. And here I'm thinking, oh, this is backwards. Like every person eats fast food weekly, multiple times probably, and doesn't sit down and cook their own steaks and vegetables. So it was crazy because it was literally flopped. So when we were on the trip in Ecuador, in the Galapagos Islands, I was so happy. Like people weren't, like my students weren't finishing their vegetables. I was like, hey, pass those over to me. I need them. And I was just consuming them like crazy. They're fresh. They were delicious. They had avocados there. I'm kind of an avocado nut. And like the students knew, they're like, just give Mrs. Kopp your avocado right away because she's going to ask for it if we don't eat it. So I think it was kind of funny how stressed I was before the trip, worrying about, you know, what snacks do I need to pack, what, you know, how many nuts can I bring, and for my weight in my suitcase. And just to let me tell you, it's easier than what you think it could be. Obviously, I went to a country that it was set up for that. So if you're a big traveler or you're on the road a lot, you know, just making smart choices, educating yourself on where you're going, what type of foods they have. And like Heidi told me, she's like, Lisa, you will not have a problem there. They eat the way you should eat. And I was like, okay, like I've never been there. I'll try and believe you. But she was right. Heidi was right. So I was excited when I came home. I felt amazing. We even did a chocolate tour down there, and their chocolate was like amazing because it's all real chocolate and they had very little sugar added. And it was a very big eye-opener. I think things happen in life for reasons, and I had this really big low in my life, and I met Heidi, and she's opened a lot of, you know, windows and doors for me to look in different avenues. And going to Galapagos in Ecuador, I think that also was meant to happen because it showed perspectives on what we do here in America versus other countries, and how I was in that cycle of bad choices of eating and diet. And it was amazing to go on a trip. So if you're worried about eating when you travel, you can do it. I believe in you. This process is definitely one that I would repeat. Knowing what I know now, I wish I would have known this sooner in my life to prevent what I went through. However, I think things happen for a reason, and because I went through this, I'm able to be educated now. I've definitely healed, and I've learned so much in this process. I am at a place now where I want to make sure other people that I care and love are also experiencing these health benefits. So I've recently brought my children into Heidi. We ran hair mineral samples on them. We actually received the data back, and I have to say, as a mom, it was very hard. I definitely cried looking at my children's results from the hair mineral sample, and I was like, what am I doing to them? Like, they're deficient in this, they're toxic in this, and it was hard. And then I wiped off my tears and I said, all right, Heidi, what do we need to do? So Heidi has been amazing. We met with her over Zoom. She's been very easy to get a hold of via email. She responds back right away. We're able to meet either in person at her office or via Zoom, which is very nice for busy schedules. And so she's come up with a plan for me, each specific to my 3 children. And it's hard. I want to see this overnight change, but it's definitely not going to be overnight. We're making changes now with their diets, and I have an older daughter that understands, good food choices and the impacts, and then my younger two, they don't quite get it. So we try and really support them as much as possible at home with great choices, and try and talk with teachers and just make it aware. The big thing is, I'm a teacher. I'm in the school exposed to so many different students, so many different viruses and bacteria, and knock on wood, right? I have not been sick this year. I am usually sick every year, multiple times. I don't get too bad. Usually it's like waves where I'm like, oh, I have a cold again, or here's a sinus infection, and I try and do remedies and try and self-heal. And this year, I've not been sick. I've not been sick. I can't believe that. So that's a testament to Heidi's work. She has built up my gut health, my immune system, and I can fight off those pathogens, those viruses that I'm exposed to at school. So now moving into my children, they have literally been sick on and off. By the time one kid gets over being sick, they pass it to the other 2, right? And so my children have been struggling with that sick virus up and down this whole year. I'm so excited to start implementing the regimens Heidi Toy suggested and seeing that slow change to having that healthy gut, healthy immune system. I'm going to work on my husband next, but it's a slow process and definitely one worth doing. I believe in Heidi and her work so much that I've actually even reached out to my mom. She's, like everybody maybe is, dealing with some health problems. And I was like, Mom, I think Heidi can help you. So Heidi has met with her and working with my mom to try and help support her health. But running hair mineral samples, she started out with my sister's running a hair mineral sample with Heidi. And, it's crazy because not everybody is ready in their journey to accept advice from other people. But I think you'll get to a point in your life where you're not happy with something. I had pain. Like, I literally couldn't do what I was doing. But like my mom, my sister, they're okay with what they're doing, but some things are wrong. So it's going to be hard for them to see that need for change, maybe because they don't have that pain like I had with my problems. But all in all, we just want to support and have a healthy community and try and lift each other up and maybe challenge some of the systems that we have in place. Why are we eating how we do, and why don't we change it? Why don't we support each other and make better choices and make some of these healthier choices the normal instead of what we see typically? So since my big low and my stomach pain and my meeting with Heidi, I really have climbed to the tallest mountain, the hill, whatever you want to say, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody, you need to do this. You need to go see Heidi. And sometimes I have to scale myself back and be like, Lisa, not everybody wants to hear what you have to say, or not everybody's ready to heal. So there's been times though where I feel it's very appropriate, and I talk with some friends. Friends maybe complain about a problem they're having or their child's having, and in my mind I'm just like freaking out, like, you need to see Heidi Toy. You need to see Heidi Toy. So I've talked with some friends, and it's hard to not be like, you have to go see her, but they have to go see her. Let's be real. They should call her, they should meet with her. So I have referred a few friends to her, given them her name, her number, trying to set up that first step, and I always say, hey, reach out to her, feel if this is something you're vibing with, if it's something that you feel could help you and your family. And it's neat to hear some feedback from Heidi and from my friends that they're getting answers for some of their problems. And again, it's not going to be an overnight fix, but it's something that we need to challenge. What are we doing in our society, in our health, in our food systems, and why are we doing that? Is it helping us? Is it hurting us? And I think just having friends that I can talk with this about makes me stronger in this lifestyle. So I definitely would refer you to Heidi. If you're having a problem right now and you're like, oh, it's not bad, or it's fine, it's minor, those little things over time, they add up. And I just challenge you, if you think you're healthy, but, maybe your menstrual cycle is off, or you're having some problems with urinary tract systems, or I don't know what your problems could be, but I just challenge you, if something's reoccurring or something is getting worse slowly, just challenge it and go to Heidi Toy and say, I'm having these problems. What can you offer for me? Because your body is telling you something. And I think in our society, we aren't trained to listen and be preventative and treat that cause. We see a lot more of the reactive side and the treatment side, but not to prevent it in the future. And that's what happened to me. I was ignoring my body telling me problems, and then I finally hit that wall. And I believe in Heidi Toy, and I suggest if you have a problem that you'd like to fix, or even your quality of life, there's so many little things that we bypass in our society that if you would take the time and work with her, you will be pleasantly surprised in the outcomes. Definitely reach out to Heidi Toy. I thought I was healthy, and guess what? I'm even healthier now.